Welcome back to another explainer. Okay, let's dive into this. Today we're opening up a deeply unsettling case file based on a first-hand account that is literally going to give you chills. We'll be breaking down a terrifying story of supernatural possession and then, well, things take a fascinating turn. The source material actually pivots right into a real-world, highly publicized true crime mystery. So, grab a seat, get comfortable, and let's explore exactly what happens when an ordinary piece of furniture turns into an absolute nightmare.
I mean, we've all been there, right? You're scrolling, browsing for a bargain, just trying to save a few bucks. But it really makes you stop and ask, what is the true cost of a cheap secondhand purchase? Because sometimes the price you pay isn't just cash, it's your peace of mind. And as we're going to see with the guy in our source material, a seemingly innocent, too-good-to-be-true bargain can actually harbor some hidden, terrifying dangers that nobody could ever anticipate.
Section 1. A desperate purchase.
So, to really understand how our protagonist got into this wild situation, we have to look at his circumstances. The poor guy was in a genuinely dire spot. He just lost his job, returned home empty-handed, and was dealing with endless taunts from his family. But the absolute breaking point? He found out his own family had sold his bed just to make ends meet, so he's given a tiny bit of cash to buy a replacement, but he doesn't even have enough for a standard used cot. He's checking local shops coming up totally empty. That is, until he bumps into a neighbor hanging around next to a shop, and this guy had been staring at him continuously. Kinda suspiciously, actually. Suddenly, out of nowhere, the neighbor offers him an old cot for an insanely low price. And when he looks at it, the thing is immaculate, like almost brand new. He's shocked by how cheap it is, but hey, desperate times call for desperate measures, right? Seeing a huge win, he just hands over the cash, no questions asked.
Section 2. The First Night Terrors.
Fast forward to after dinner. He finally breathes a huge sigh of relief, right? He has a place to sleep, he sets up his new cot, lies down, and drifts off. But the peace doesn't last. The whole atmosphere in the room just shifts, and the nightmare begins almost immediately. While he's sleeping, he feels this sudden, violent shove. It felt exactly like he was being pushed deep into a dark pit. His entire body starts to ache horribly. He wakes up screaming, completely drenched in sweat. Now, thinking it's just a bad dream, he tries to go back to sleep. Big mistake. The moment he lays back down, this intense pressure hits him. Something invisible is gripping his shoulders so tightly. His legs feel like they're literally bound in unseen chains, and that agonizing, paralyzing pain comes rushing back, completely locking him in place.
So obviously, hearing his screams, his family rushes into the room, but they just brush it off. They tell him, oh, it's just a bad dream, go back to sleep. But look at the stark contrast between their dismissal and the terrifying physical proof that actually emerged. Because he wasn't just found terrified and sweating. Later on, actual physical evidence manifested. We're talking visible scratch marks and deep indentations from ropes on his legs. Yeah, this was definitely no ordinary dream.
Section 3. The Cot Strikes Back.
Okay, so he's completely terrified and spends the rest of that first night sleeping on the hard, cold floor. But he wasn't ready to give up just yet. The next day, he tries to rationalize the whole thing. He convinces himself, okay, it must have been a hallucination. So he makes the brave, or let's be honest, probably foolish decision to sleep on the cot a second night, just to prove it was all in his head. He lies down. At first, nothing. But right around midnight, bam! The invisible force grabs him again, violently dragging him backward. And then, he hears it. Why are you here? This is my bed. Get out. It was the voice of a furious old woman. And the craziest part? The voice wasn't just echoing in the room. It felt like it was erupting from straight inside his own head, literally splitting his skull apart with its fury.
Things escalate super fast from here. By morning, he is thoroughly traumatized. He picks up the cot, throws it outside, and just leaves it out in the open. Problem solved, right? Well, actually, later that exact same day, an angry stranger returns it. This totally random man marches up, furiously demanding to know why such a dangerous piece of furniture was left outside. The stranger complained that the cot had given him violent electric shocks and nightmares the moment he tried to rest on it. And wow, this was a massive turning point. Our protagonist realizes right then and there he isn't crazy. By nightfall, armed with the total certainty that this cot is objectively cursed, he makes a staggering decision. He is going to investigate that voice.
Section 4. The Final Confrontation.
So he brings the cursed cot back inside to uncover the identity of this elderly woman. Now, what's really interesting about this breakdown of the final confrontation is the rapid, totally chaotic sequence of events that unfolds. Step 1, he falls asleep quickly,
but is suddenly jolted by this crazy feeling of plummeting from a great height, followed by the sensation that the cot is floating in the air, like it's being carried on invisible shoulders. Step 2. An intense, crushing suffocation grips him. Step 3. He looks down and sees a literal ring of fire completely surrounding the cot. He tries to scream, but absolutely no sound comes out. Step 4. Suddenly the paralysis just violently breaks. And Step 5. The ultimate jump scare. He sits up to find a horrifying old woman sitting directly in front of him.
Seeing this ghostly figure, he screams at the top of his lungs and jolts awake. He's looking frantically around the room, but everything is completely normal. The fire? Gone. The woman? Gone. But the horror definitely wasn't over. As he checks his body, he realizes he is covered in fresh, incredibly painful physical wounds. At this point, there is zero doubt left in his mind. This was a malicious, supernatural presence, and it was doing real-world damage.
Section 5. The Terrifying Truth.
The guy just couldn't take it anymore. First thing the next morning, he drags that cot right back to the cellar and absolutely demands an explanation for the living hell he's been through over the past 3 nights. And the cellar? He finally caves and reveals a really twisted origin story. Turns out the cellar's elderly mother had passed away on that exact cot just a few days prior. After she died, the cellar had purposefully left the bed empty in her room so her spirit could sleep peacefully. But then he got greedy, decided to make a quick buck, and sold it. He essentially sold away his own mother's eternal resting place. It really goes to show how, in these accounts, spirits are deeply, violently territorial, and they will go to extreme lengths to protect the spaces they claim in death.
Section 6. From Ghost to True Crime.
So obviously, that is a bone-chilling ghost story. But here's where the source material makes a highly unusual, super dramatic pivot straight into a real-world true crime promotion. And this brilliantly illustrates a stark contrast. We are moving from a supernatural mystery of a haunted cot and a vengeful spirit directly into a factual 2015 murder arrest driven by actual human betrayal. The source basically uses that primal fear of the unknown to prime the audience for the much more chilling reality of human nature.
Keeping strictly to how the promo presents it, the facts of this real-world case are pretty startling. This highly publicized case originally surfaced in India back in 2015. It involved the arrest of Peter Mukherjee, who was the former head of Star Plus, along with his wife, Indrani. According to the source, Indrani and Peter were accused of conspiring to murder Sheena Bora, who was introduced to the public as Indrani's sister. As the investigation moved forward, these incredibly twisted secrets were uncovered one by one, completely shocking the entire nation. It's a very stark reminder of the dark, tangled complexities you find in real-life criminal investigations.
Which brings us to the final thought of this explainer. We've just explored the agonizing terror of an invisible, angry spirit leaving physical scars in the dead of night. And then, we looked at the grim reality of a high-profile, real-world murder conspiracy centered on family betrayal. It really leaves you wondering, are ghosts more terrifying, or the real-life monsters living right among us? It's a pretty chilling question to leave you with. Thank you so much for joining me to unpack this fascinating source material. Stay curious, stay observant, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.